What's up, guys? Honestly, I just found these chairs in the woods. A little bit sketchy, but they seemed clean, so I decided to take a seat. It's by my usual spot where I do videos, and I noticed them before, but I never sat down. So, I feel like sitting down today, so let's do a video. Little update. So someone did comment on my channel about etheric implants and how to remove them, and I've done not specific videos on it before, but I have mentioned this in the videos before. And just stay tuned. I think you guys will be a little bit surprised and happy about the next guest I'm about to have on Monday soon. So we'll discuss all that, removing implants and all that. So that being said, today's topic of discussion, I would like to talk a little bit more about these lesser gods. This idea of these beings that we're part of the Creator, and they in a sense are offshoots of it, right? So they're not the source itself, but just like us, they have that creator energy, and being tuned into that more, not directly, because we are all still tuned in directly, being more aware of it and more able to tap into it. They kind of play these games, these war games even, especially these egoic beings that, I don't know if they're just bored or they're tired of their own creations or they really enjoy playing these games, right? But they're definitely in service to self. And they want to see how many humans they can really control, let's say. Kind of like cattle, right? And these beings that I'm talking about are, first of all, Enki and Enlil, right? So we have this idea of two gods throughout many of mythologies. We have always some good versus bad. A lot of the ancient tribes, right, of Africa and Asia, they all describe these two gods, which alludes to our present day with Jesus and Satan, let's say, right? Now Jesus, if you don't know the Enki and Enlil story, Jesus is more akin to Enki, while Satan would be more akin to Enlil. Enlil was a jealous god, hated humanity, and Enki, it is said, he had mercy towards them. But I don't know about that really, because they also describe him as a trickster god. And Enki is very similar to Loki from our Norse mythology. And Loki alludes to Hermes, right, the trickster. Also Thoth, potentially. Now, let's say if Thoth did exist outside of this triad, kind of like the Ascension Glossary texts mentioned, not text, but the website. Look it up if you don't know about it, the Ascension Glossary. And now this is just a website. It does seem to have a good amount of truths, but remember, anyone can make these websites. It doesn't mean it's the absolute truth. So on the website, it kind of says that Thoth is a third party to Enki and Enlil. But what they do really is they create these figures of worship, right? The warship, you go at war with your ship, and they extract energy. So any being really that's asking for offerings, that's asking for praise, that's asking for your full attention to it, is more than likely using that energy, right? It's extracting your energy. Now, essentially, you're tapping into a consciousness, okay? You're tapping into their consciousness, and they're tapping into your consciousness, and it becomes an exchange. So you become like them, and then they become like you, but not necessarily, because they may have more of a conglomerate of consciousness, so it's more of a hive mind, right? So you enter their hive mind, right? So they get that little bitty part of you, and you get that big hive mind consciousness, in a sense, and you start tuning into other things, right? And many people will say, oh, well, I've been contacted by Thoth, or I see this Eye of Ra, or I see, all these symbols, Metatron's cube, and that's essentially what they want. Yeah, they want to contact you, of course. That's why we have all these channelings of Metatron, of Archangel Michael, of all these groups, because they're fallen angelics. They need energy to survive, and they essentially may even need your energy to create at some point, because some are just using our energy to power these worlds that they inhabit, right? Kind of like virtual sims in which they need some sort of extra input to make that, to create what they want, right? And then they do it through potentially implants and subjective programming or subconscious programming, in which they influence the person and they tell them what's going to happen. The person believes it, and then they make that happen, right? It's a, what's it called? Self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Now, what apparently I think has been happening is Enki and Enlil were at war with each other, these two brothers, and they're trying to gather as many humans to essentially finish this war or to beat each other. And where Thoth comes in, if he's not Enki himself, is really he's probably the one behind the pyramids. Him and Ra are basically the same figure potentially, right? All these different figures have basically been split to embody the same persona or the same personas, right? Because they need to trick you into saying, well, no, this one's good, this one's bad. No, this is the right one. This one is the one that we should praise and we should worship. Because humans just love to give their energy away. They just love to give away their sovereignty. Since it's much easier that way, right? It's like, oh, well, if I pick the good politician, the right one, they'll take care of me, right? They're both on the same side. Government has lost its moral standing, if it ever had one, because we just keep accepting, and we just, oh, it's okay, we made a mistake, let's get the next guy and make the next guy our leader. And no one is really choosing the accountability, choosing sovereignty. So when they get you into these programs, into this mindset of saying, oh, you know what, yeah, I can learn from this being, or let's make some sort of agreement, all of a sudden you're contracted in. You've given consent, right? They then implant you. They then use those implants to manipulate and create this fog over you, create this distraction sometimes even, but delusion mainly is what it is, in which you see things how they want you to see them. It's kind of like the person that's stuck in their own beliefs, right? They can't see outside the programming. They can't think past the programming, because that would mean that they would have to let go of their beliefs. So they hit this firewall, right? And it's like, oh, no, I can't accept that the earth may be, flat, rectangular, a prism, a realm, or whatever, because that would mean I have to give up all that science has told me. And but I do not think that the earth is necessarily flat. I'm just saying that is a good example, to a good polarized example. So then they use these energies to basically have fun and mess with people. And the thing that people don't realize is there are all these hierarchies of entities, and that's how they run. That's why they shove that pyramid in our face, and there's the eye in the middle, because the eye is really on top. Because there is some sort of commander, usually there is some sort of pinnacle, and these beings are usually manifested in the form of dragonic implants or dragonic form, potentially originating from who knows where. But if this realm is a sort of simulation, then they would be outside the simulation. They're not necessarily somewhere physical in the simulation, right? And that would go multiple planes above us. And through remote viewing, through consciousness hopping, where they hop through bodies and things like that, they're able to access all points, right? They're able to travel back and forth between these dimensions and these realities and get their way with people. So I guess my main point in this video is to really be very discerning what you're giving your attention to. If you're going to praise all these beings, you have to understand that things don't come for free. Things aren't necessarily a beneficial exchange for you, usually, right? So, you'll have beings in the forms of guides, beings in the forms of archangels that say, oh, well, I got your back this time. But when you die, I expect you to pay up, or even in this life, right? And then they use your energy to manipulate all sorts of events around you. But again, you're not tapping into your current sovereign energy of creator, of the one true creator, and you're giving your life away, essentially. you're giving away your creative potential by doing so. So that's really what I'm trying to say with this idea that Thoth is heavily everywhere in the occult, heavily throughout, right? The Egyptian, whatever we may have, reminiscence, not reminiscence, what's the word? The Egyptian knowledge that was passed on throughout the ages, right? So that's already a big red flag, and always pushed, right? The Ascension Glossary describes that the Emerald Tablets were actually stolen from the Emerald Covenant. And again, covenant, that's a covenant, it's an agreement, which was probably an agreement between us and Source that, hey, we're going to respect this place or whatever. But in a sense, this place got out of whack, right? This duality was not meant to get this extreme. This duality was meant to be, okay, let's introduce a contrast. The contrast is, I push against you slightly. Well, now the contrast has become, I punch you in the face, and you're gonna suffer much more than intended, right? It was supposed to be really just minor setbacks, potentially, or minor challenges, but they've turned the difficulty up to extreme in this place, and they've now hacked the game, and they own it for themselves, potentially. So, until we, become aware of our power, then we can essentially hack the game back, if we so choose, or we more than likely can choose to leave, right, and recreate another game, because once a game has been virused, right, once it's been attacked by a virus, you need some sort of antivirus to clean it. So sometimes you just got to scrap the game, right, if you want to keep participating in such a crazy experience. Then hey, that's all you. If you want to be part of the horror movie, right, go ahead, be part of the horror movie. Some people would just like to create their own movie, or create a comedy or something different. Again, you can create in your own little bubbles, of course, but the overall mechanism, the overall genre is horror. So at least that's what I think. At least that's what I think has been happening in this place. So yeah, like I said, stay tuned. We'll have someone on shortly regarding the etheric implants. I'm doing my own research on that in terms of hypnosis and regressions, to uncover more about what's happening here. Right? That's what I enjoy doing. At least I enjoy finding the truth. I enjoy getting to the whole absolute truth as best as we can from our own relative perspective. Because if it's happening to a lot of these relative perspectives, you can kind of put them together and you can get closer to that absolute truth, even though they may be paradoxes, right? That's what the absolute truth is. It's holding two paradoxical truths together and being able to see from both perspectives, right? So I'm always open to other perspectives, but going through this process, I wasn't able to see this other perspective that I currently see. So now I'm looking at it from this side, and I'm looking and I can see all these things that are being exposed for what they weren't really, right? Right, so that's it. Short video today. Hope that made sense for you guys. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.